Happening now, the man accused of killing a Jamestown woman and kidnapping a PA elderly couple has been arraigned in Pennsylvania court. And we hear from Jamestown lawmakers about their plan to combat public safety concerns. Plus, we get an update from Jamestown schools on what their plan is to change the Red Raider nickname.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now.
Thank you for joining us for WNY News Now. I'm Bronson Rasmussen. Those stories and more are coming up, but first.
This is WNY News Now with live breaking news.
We are currently receiving reports of a shooting in Lakewood. Now, Lakewood police tell us that a neighbor dispute led to a gun being discharged at an Elmcrest duplex before a suspect fled the scene in a vehicle. Now, police had found the same vehicle at the Lakewood McDonald's, but as of now, the suspect has not been caught, although a tip to our newsroom reports that police are searching at around Don's Car Wash on Fairmount Avenue. Now, this is an ongoing story, and we will provide updates as more information becomes available. In other news, the man accused of killing a Jamestown woman and kidnapping a PA elderly couple has been extradited to the Keystone State Monday. 34-year-old Michael Burham faced charges in Pennsylvania for the alleged kidnapping of an elderly couple at gunpoint. He faces 3 main felony charges, including 2 counts of kidnapping and 1 charge of burglary, 5 other felony offenses, 2 counts of aggravated assault, theft by unlawful thinking, receiving stolen property, and criminal trespass, in addition to over a dozen misdemeanors. Each of the main charges could carry a penalty of 20 years and a $25,000 fine. District Judge Raymond Zondick arraigned Burham on the charges and set his bail at $1 million. Following a 2-week manhunt, Burham was located in South Carolina, not far from where he allegedly dropped off the elderly couple that he had kidnapped. Now, he was then extradited back to New York State to face federal fleeing charges, which was dropped to let the states handle Burham's arraignment. Chautauqua County District Attorney Jason Schmidt tells us that he would like the PA justice system to try Burham first so his team can compile the correct evidence on the murder allegations. While a Jamestown man is behind bars following domestic dispute that also led to an alleged choking of a female. The Jamestown City Police Department responded to a Fish Street address in the early hours of Sunday morning to report a domestic incident. Upon investigation, police discovered 46-year-old Rudy Wren allegedly held an unidentified female victim to the wall by her throat during an argument. Wren was then taken into custody by the police without incident. However, on the way to the patrol car, it is reported that Wren then spat at the victim in front of the responding officers. The Jamestown man was then transported to city jail and charged with obstruction of breathing / blood circulation and harassment. Wren was held pending arraignment. The city of Jamestown held a public safety initiative press conference Tuesday afternoon to go over plans to help decrease the city's crime rate. Our Alyssa Wright has more on Jamestown Mayor Eddie Sundquist's plan for the safety initiative Safer Jamestown Now, which will rely heavily on community involvement.
So over the last 3 years, Jamestown has made really critical investments into public safety, outreach, and focused on root causes of crime. These investments have combated a rise in crime and are working as we start to see a decrease in some of our violent crime rates.
The mayor touts that the city's crime rates are already on the decline.
But we as a city can and will do better. And focusing with Safer Jamestown Now, we are committed to community-focused policing with residents and police working together to make our neighborhoods safer.
The city hopes to revamp the Neighborhood Watch program.
The first thing we want to make sure we do is we want to double down some of the efforts that we are already doing. But we want to empower our community by dedicating additional resources to create and revitalize our neighborhood watches.
Mayor Sundquist would also like to get the children involved in a preventative program.
We also want to work and partner with our faith-based organizations, our community groups, and Jamestown Public Schools to provide violence interruption programs in our community.
The Safer Jamestown Now initiative is a collaboration project.
We are calling on our community to take back our neighborhoods. That's what this is about. Safer Jamestown Now, neighbors on watch. It is not enough for us just to rely on our police, but our police needs our neighbors as partners.
The initiative was met with varying degrees of receptiveness, with some saying the mayor has neglected to pursue opportunities to provide adequate funding to the Jamestown Police Department. In Jamestown, Alyssa Wright, WNY News Now.
Jamestown Public Schools have put out a poll to have the community decide what nickname will replace the taboo Jamestown Red Raiders. Now all of this is on the heels of an order from New York State to change the nickname or risk losing all financial state aid. Previously, the school board changed the Red Raider imagery from a jay with a feather to a big cat, calling on the school's historic roots. Jamestown Public Schools Superintendent Dr. Kevin Whitaker tells us that he's been in contact with the Seneca Nation of Indians about what the learning centers can do to correct the negative imagery.
The beginning of it may have made sense that we were Red Raiders and we were a cat, and it made sense. We were some sort of raider that happened to have the color red, and it made sense to them. Then at a certain point, and we believe it was late 60s, early 70s, we as a district brought out caricatures of Native Americans. And that's when they said it changed from something that may have made sense based on a color and about our history to something that was offensive. And we already talked about the imagery and how that was incorrect and how it was offensive, and now we've associated that imagery with the nickname.
The community can vote on the new mascot's nickname by visiting jpsny.org/mascot. The poll will be open throughout the month of June, with July and August being used to decipher the results. Ultimately, the district plans to have the new name before the new year. Once the change happens, the school will have 2 years to remove the branding, which includes replacing school uniforms, repainting walls, replacing flooring, and the turf. While Chautauqua County officials are warning the public about possible residential property scams in the area, reportedly several homeowners nationwide have received unwanted offers in the mail to buy property from them. The offers can look deceiving as they come from a company called Admiral Reality LLC, owned by Donald Kidd of Miami, Florida, and claims that the homeowner will be contacted by representatives soon with the needed paperwork. The LLC does reportedly have a Facebook and LinkedIn page, though both have minimal information on them. Chautauqua County Clerk Larry Barmore says that he has checked Chautauqua County's records and talked with neighboring counties to determine that no properties are currently owned by Admiral Reality LLC in the area. The county clerk commented that there are some legitimate companies with names similar to the LLC that could cause property owners to believe that offers are genuine, and advises that anyone who receives the offers, when in doubt, to throw it out. Well, switching gears a little bit, we'll get a check of our first weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Andrew Stevenson, and it's off and on with the rain out there.
Not a dry day out there for the most part today, but there's more rain on the way. We start off with a live look right now from the Mill Creek Mall sky camera in Erie, Pennsylvania. And we got partly sunny skies out there. The traffic is flowing relatively good out there right now, and hopefully that continues. Well, today is the first day of summer. It officially arrived at 10:58 this morning. Today will be the longest day of the year, clocking in at 15 hours, 15 minutes, and 13 seconds. And unfortunately, starting tomorrow, we'll be starting to lose daylight out there, and summer will run until September 23rd when the autumn equinox comes around. Here's a look at the almanac. We made it to a high of 79 degrees yesterday, which is 1 degree above our average for this time of year. Our low was 64. And the records for today, 103 set back in 1988 and record low of 36 set back in 1985. So here's your first defense weather forecast for the rest of the afternoon out there. Partly cloudy skies. Can't rule out an afternoon isolated shower or thunderstorm possible just like yesterday, with an east wind of 3 to 7 miles per hour, and highs today will run in the upper 70s near the immediate Lake Erie shoreline to the lower 80s across inland locations. I'll have a look at that full forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Andrew, we'll see you then. As WNY News Now continues, we hear from New York State lawmakers on how they plan to combat gun violence. And later, lawmakers plan to increase minimum wage in Pennsylvania. We hear the latest in their efforts. Stay with us, as WNY News Now will be right back.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer, plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
Honorary Forest Ranger Betty White here, lending a hand to my dear friend Smokey Bear, because for years he's only said,
only you can prevent wildfires.
But there's a lot more to say, like if you park your car on tall, dry grass, the hot exhaust pipe can start a wildfire. So keep the animals safe, especially the cute shirtless one. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th in Brooklyn Square. The streets will be packed with a festival atmosphere, bringing the youngest of our Macker mites up to the adult players who compete for the top prize in their divisions. Register online at Macker.com before July 31st. The Jamestown Macker will also include some specialty competitions, making it one of the best community events of the year.
Catch your first defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
Governor Kathy Hochul makes an announcement about the state's progress combating gun violence. Now our New York State Capitol correspondent Elise Klein breaks down the highlights from Hochul's announcement.
Our strength is in numbers. The more we build together a team of people working together in real time, the stronger we are against the criminals.
The Interstate Task Force on Illegal Guns includes state police, local law enforcement from across the state, and representatives from 13 states, and the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF. The governor says this task force establishes a coordinated effort to share information and combat the iron pipeline. An assistant special agent with ATF says sharing federal and local data will help combat gun trafficking in a more efficient manner.
What we've been able to do with these partnerships with the New York State Police and the Division of Criminal Justice Services is really reduce the time in which we get this data.
The governor also highlights nearly $36 million in this year's state budget for law enforcement agencies participating in the Gun-Involved Violence Initiative, or GIVE. The GIVE grant cycle through this year's budget will run from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024. Agencies will use this funding for personnel, overtime, equipment, and technology. In Albany, Elise Klein, WNY News Now.
The Manhattan District DA is opposing former President Trump's legal efforts to get the state Supreme Court judge proceeding over the hush money case to be recused. In a new court filing, prosecutors argue Trump's recusal motion should be denied because Trump's legal team hasn't identified any actual or perceived conflicts of interest or preconceived bias by the judge. Prosecutors have also subpoenaed E. Jean Carroll's attorney seeking the entire videotape deposition of Trump. And they've issued new subpoenas to the Trump Organization seeking emails involving the Trump Organization's officials and members of the White House. The emails were sent during the time when Trump and others allegedly reimbursed his team personal attorney, Michael Cohen, for facilitating hush money payments. Trump was indicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records to conceal reimbursements for the alleged hush money payments made to Stormy Daniels, who claimed to have an affair with Trump. Now, Trump has pled not guilty and denied having an affair with the former adult film star. Now, 4 people were killed and 2 others were officially injured in a fire overnight in New York. It happened at an e-bike shop on Manhattan's Lower East Side. The blaze started just after midnight, with first responders rescuing people from an apartment above the repair shop. According to police, 2 men and 2 women were killed. Authorities determined lithium-ion batteries used in e-bikes caused the fire. Now, this is the latest in a string of multiple electric vehicle fires. Well, the Pennsylvania House passed a bill to gradually increase the minimum wage to $15 per hour by 2026. House Bill 1500 increases the minimum wage to $11 per hour by January 1st, 2024, $13 per hour a year later, then ultimately to $15 per hour by January 1st, 2026. Beginning in 2027, the minimum wage would be indexed to inflation. The bill also sets the tipped wage in Pennsylvania to 60% of the minimum wage. Democratic lawmakers say that this is long overdue.
It's a historic day in Pennsylvania, right? Raising the minimum wage predates my time in the legislature and the push to do that to bring Pennsylvania up to par with our surrounding states. So today, the Pennsylvania House Democrats delivered.
Now, the House bill is a companion bill to Senate Bill 743, introduced by Republican State Senator Dan Lawin of Erie. Coming up, we hear from representatives about this year's possible severe weather. And later, we have the latest on what the president's son faces in federal charges. But first, return with a look at our full weather forecast.
Catch your First Defense forecast daily on WNY News Now.
How prepared is your family if a hurricane shows up at your doorstep, or a flood, or a blizzard? You can't just turn away a natural disaster. That's why it's important to go to ready.gov/plan now. It has the tools and tips you need to make an emergency plan with your family. So if disaster comes knocking,
let's go.
You'll be ready to help keep your family safe.
It's just a pizza.
Yes. Make a plan today.
WNY News Now is covering stories that matter to you.
15-year-old Yadiel Diaz was subject to a public humiliation stunt by a fellow student in an act of violence and bullying. Now Yadiel's mother, Raquel, has had enough.
Officials are trying to work with the county's homeless coalition to help support the homeless population locally. There are also plans in the works to build 2 new shelters.
WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
I'm a survivor.
I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor.
Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35.
1 in 250 men will be diagnosed with testicular cancer.
But 98% will survive if detected early.
As a survivor, I believe early detection is the key. Learn how to do a testicular self-exam and other important facts about testicular cancer at oneball4tc.com.
With matters. This is WNY News Now.
Fast, accurate, and everyday. First Defense Weather.
Welcome back to WNY News Now. Let's take a look at the current conditions in downtown Jamestown. We're under partly cloudy skies right now. Currently at the Jamestown Airport, as of the noon hour, 75 degrees is the current temperature with an east wind of 9 miles per hour. Well, let's take a trip down to the tropics again and give you a tropical update on Tropical Storm Brett, which currently continues to churn in the southern Atlantic. It's moving west at 14 miles per hour, and wind gusts are about 60 miles per hour with a little bit stronger wind gusts, and this will continue to move off to the west and it's forecasted to become a hurricane over the next few days, and places such as the Western Antilles are under tropical storm watches, and we'll see if this becomes a hurricane. And as I said, it's projected to become a hurricane headed into tomorrow. Back here across our region, across the northeast, we still have high pressure and control that continues to keep this low pressure system to our south, but eventually headed into tomorrow and Friday, this high pressure system will begin to lose its pull on the region, and this low pressure system will begin to bring some rain across the region tomorrow and Friday. So let's time it out on future scan through the rest of the afternoon. Generally partly cloudy skies. You can't rule out an isolated rain shower or thunderstorm this afternoon once again. And then we should be partly cloudy skies overnight tonight, heading into early tomorrow. Tomorrow should be a mostly cloudy day, and we'll get into a few showers later tomorrow afternoon and into the evening, but the bulk of the rain showers will hold off until Thursday night and into the day of Friday as that low pressure system begins to move north into our region. Taking a look at the WPC, which is the Weather Prediction Center excessive rainfall outlook, has placed the entire region on Friday under a marginal risk for flash flood, and what this means is that there's about a 5% chance that anywhere within 25 miles might see excessive rain that could lead to some flash flooding on Wednesday. So we'll keep an eye on that for Friday, I should say. Well, tonight the Tarp Skunks are back home, and it's a doubleheader tonight against Batavia Mutt Dogs. This is a makeup of a game that got canceled a few weeks ago due to rain, and game 1 will start at 4:30, so partly sunny skies with temperatures near 80. Game 2 should come around 7:30. We'll still be dry with temperatures in the mid-70s, and by the end of game 2, we're still dry with temperatures in the mid-60s. And now the extended forecast powered by Ultimate Satellite Solutions. So we bring in some rain tomorrow and Friday, maybe a chance for a few thunderstorms Friday and Saturday. Highs will be in the upper 70s, close to 80. And then on Sunday, we should have a dry day on Sunday before we bring in some more rain chances heading into early next week, Bronson.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. Now for some headlines across the nation and continuing coverage on the weather aspect. We're at the start of hurricane season, and the Caribbean is preparing itself for an unusually early storm. Now this year, with Tropical Storm Brett expecting to bring some heavy rains to some of the islands, our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp, she spoke with FEMA on this and how the agency is preparing for the upcoming storms.
June kicks off hurricane season, and in a rare occurrence, eastern parts of the Caribbean are bracing for some early weather as Tropical Storm Brett is set to move in. Some meteorologists believe once it moves into the Caribbean later this week, it will weaken, but they expect heavy rains in the region.
FEMA is ready for this upcoming hurricane season.
We spoke with the Federal Emergency Management Agency, better known as FEMA, on how the agency is prepping for this season of storms.
We have people across the country, especially in those areas that are likely to be impacted, ready to go once those storms hit. We have a bunch of resources and commodities pre-positioned to be able to move once those storms pass.
FEMA says they work with their local partners as well as other federal agencies to be prepared for the upcoming storms. They also have 3 tips for people who live in hurricane, typhoon, or even tornado zones.
The first thing is to know your risk. It's easy to look at the map and say, oh, like this is where the cone says it's going to go, or this is where the map says it's going to go. But think about things like rainfall. When we think about Hurricane Ian, there was wind, there was storm surge, but it also dumped 20 inches of rain that led to intense flooding. So we want people to know what their individual risk is based on where they live.
The second piece of advice?
We also want people to know how they're going to get information. So we want people to go to trusted news sources like the folks I'm talking to today, but also go to things like the National Weather Service. FEMA also has an app that you can download right to your mobile device that can tell you emergency alerts if you need it.
And the third?
Make a plan. So, it's great if you have the information, it's great if you know your risk, but if you don't have a plan, it doesn't really mean anything.
And recoveries do take time, but they are reassuring people that they will be there for as long as it takes. In Washington, D.C., Rachel Knapp reporting.
President Biden's son, Hunter, will plead guilty to 2 tax misdemeanors and reach a deal with federal prosecutors on a felony gun charge possession. Now that's according to Tuesday court filing from the Department of Justice. The DOJ is expected to recommend probation for the tax misdemeanors. The gun charge will likely be diverted, meaning it will be dismissed if Hunter Biden abides by certain conditions for a period of time. Final sentencing decisions will be up to the judge, however. The White House said in a statement that the Bidens love their son and support him. According to Hunter Biden's attorney, the deal with prosecutors will resolve the long-running federal criminal probe into the president's son. The attorney said that Hunter Biden thinks it is, quote, important to take responsibility for these mistakes he made during a period of turmoil and addiction. While President Biden is expected to soon announce a new director for the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Friday, the White House confirmed that Dr. Mandy Cohen will be appointed to the position. Now Cohen will be replacing Dr. Rochelle Walensky, who is stepping down June 30th. Dr. Cohen previously served as a senior official at the Centers for Medicine and Medicaid Services in the Obama administration. She later served as North Carolina's Secretary of Health and Human Services during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Cohen is now working as an executive in the private sector. She is expected to start her new role sometime next month. Well, coming up next, a latest in the missing Titanic expedition.
You're watching WNY News Now, your source for breaking news.
Right here, baby. Look. Uma.
Something more than a birthday is happening here. Once you can see it, you can help. The sooner you recognize the signs of autism, the sooner you can make a lifetime of difference for your child. Start by answering a few simple questions at screenforautism.org.
3-on-3 basketball returns to Jamestown, New York this summer. Collaborative Children's Solutions and partners are hosting a Gus Macker tournament August 19th and 20th in Brooklyn Square. The streets will be packed with a festival atmosphere, bringing the youngest of our Mackermites up to the adult players who compete for the top prize in their divisions. Register online at Macker.com before July 31st. The Jamestown Macker will also include some specialty competitions, making it one of the best community events of the year.
A major development overnight in the search for the sub that went missing while diving on the Titanic shipwreck. The U.S. Coast Guard says a Canadian surveillance plane detected underwater noises in the search area. They heard banging sounds at 30-minute intervals Tuesday. According to an internal government memo, time is quickly running out to save the 5 people who were on board. Paul Newton has this report.
A sound of hope in the search and rescue of the missing submersible with 5 people on board. According to an internal U.S. government memo, sonar picked up banging sounds underneath the water Tuesday at 30-minute intervals.
Regular 30-minute intervals is a man-made thing. It's not a natural occurrence. It doesn't happen like that in nature. It is a good sign of hope.
The memo was not clear as to when the banging was heard on Tuesday or how long it lasted.
They can triangulate on noise. Again, it's only happening every 30 minutes. They only have a data update every 30 minutes. So if it was happening every minute, it'd be a lot easier and a lot faster.
However, time continues to be a critical factor as the vessel's oxygen supply dwindles.
We will do everything in our power to effect a rescue.
So far, the U.S. Coast Guard says it has searched an area about the size of Connecticut.
Getting salvage equipment on scene is a top priority.
The U.S. Navy is sending a flyaway deep ocean salvage system similar to the one pictured here for retrieving heavy underwater items like the small submersible. On board, Ocean Gate CEO and founder Stockton Rush, British adventurer and businessman Hamish Harding, one of Pakistan's richest men, British businessman Shahzada Dawood, and his 19-year-old son Suleiman Dawood. And the vessel's pilot, French submariner and ex-Navy officer Paul-Henri Nargeolet.
If I was in a bind with anybody, it would be Paul-Henri Nargeolet. He would do everything he can, and without panic, to work his way out of that situation.
As the ongoing search and rescue continued.
Now, in a statement from our local Congressman Nick Langworthy, he says that, quote, I commend the Coast Guard for their bravery and dedicated efforts in searching for the missing submarine in collaboration with our foreign partners. My prayers are with the missing passengers and their families during this difficult time. Well, that'll be it for us today, but we will leave you with this live look over Chautauqua Lake. We'll see you next time on WNY News Now.